Dream Team, it's your boy Neal back with another reaction video, guys. Here we are with the real reason everyone hates Max Verstappen. Why everybody hating on Max? The great one, the chosen one, the man in his prime right now. We about to find out. Before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. You guys have a favorite video suggestion? You can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. Oh my God, Max!
To fight in two different cars against each other for the championship instead of always one team, and then you just have a teammate battle. And Lewis, I think, is one of the best drivers in F1.
From being more talented than all the other drivers on the grid to criticisms over his aggressive driving style, these are the real reasons everyone hates Max Verstappen. I want to start with the fact that he's the most skilled driver on the grid right now, and that's one of the biggest reasons why everyone hates him. It's a
I mean, that's a fact. He's the top guy. At the moment, he's the top guy. There's a lot of guys who've had their time, who've had their era, who've had their prime, and where they were dominant, and then it's just right now it's just Max's time.
Classic case of being so good, the fans of other drivers can't stand him. The Dutchman's won everything in karting, jumping from Formula 3 to Formula 1 in no time because he's just that good. And not only is he the youngest driver to compete in F1, he's also the youngest to win a race, stealing the spotlight ever since he arrived at Red Bull, and that's one of the reasons why his former teammate Daniel Ricciardo left the team. Since then, Max has won the World Championship twice, and he's currently on his way to winning a third in 2023.
Oh, sure.
I always knew already that Lewis was a great driver, but I never really had that full opportunity to race against him. And I think what was very special this year was that both of us, we pushed the car and the team to the limit because we demanded a lot, but we also gave back a lot.
Sure, you can argue that
For sure, he's definitely about to win this third one, which is absolutely awesome. And for the foreseeable future, is there going to be anyone that could challenge him?
he's got one of the best cars on the grid, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to the skills of the driver. Verstappen's nothing less than a magician behind the wheel, and if I'm being totally honest, there aren't many drivers who have that kind of raw talent. When he bagged the title in 2022, he left seven-time world champ Lewis Hamilton with the first winless season of his career and shocked F1 fans around the world. That's crazy. But behind all that talent, Max isn't the nicest person in the world. Have you ever noticed how he comes off as arrogant most of the time? Remember when he was asked if retired three-time F1 champ Nelson Piquet gave him any pointers to win the championship? Max arrogantly replied that he doesn't need any tips in the first place because he already knows how to win. I mean, come on. Max, show some respect. We're talking about one of the greatest drivers in the history of the sport. Look, I don't...
He does know how to win, though. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're asking him any tips on how to win. It's like, I won. Like, I know how to get it done. I won. So it may come off as arrogant, but it is true. He's won. Like, you can give him tips on how to, I guess, tips that guy used. But from what I've seen in F1, it seems like a lot of drivers have their own style of driving. So what works for one might not work for another.
I don't know about you guys, but I think there's a fine line between being confident and arrogant, and it doesn't hurt to be humble, even if you're the best driver in the world.
How to drive it, what lines to take, is difficult to fully explain, why that happens, but it's something you have been learning since a little kid. I mean, I remember back in the go-karting days, my dad was literally standing on the track telling me where to drive in the wet.
Speaking of him being arrogant, Max doesn't even let his teammates through. According to his fans, the Dutchman lacks team spirit, and you won't have to dig too deep to prove it, because the incident with his teammate Sergio Checo Perez is a prime example. At the 2022 Brazilian GP, Max was already the world champ by a wide margin, but when Checo needed to score some big points to finish second in the championship, Max refused to let him pass. He even disobeyed direct orders from his team, which is never a good thing to do, no matter how big of a hotshot you think you are. If he had let Perez through, who knows? The championship table might have been different, but that didn't happen, and it shocked fans to their core. Max was criticized by his team after the race, and they schooled him on the importance of working as a unit to obtain great results. So I'm sure they gave him the old, there's no I in team speech, and I can't even imagine what Sergio went through in that moment. All I know is he was devastated after the race. No one had ever seen anything like that in F1 before, and it only proved how selfish Max can be on the track.
He almost touches Verstappen! They almost make contact! Into turn 9, Verstappen!
To be that great, you gotta be a little selfish. Like I said, I don't know exactly strategies and everything. And of course, Red Bull, I guess since Max already had the Drivers' Championship locked up, they wanted Checo to get some points, you know what I'm saying? Because as Red Bull, they want both of the drivers to do absolutely amazing. I'm sure they want them to finish 1-2 on the scoreboard because it just helps Red Bull even more. But as a person, as a driver, I don't know. You go out there, you want to win every single race. And even though you got a teammate, it's you almost out there like every man for themselves. Like, I think Max wants to win every single race, and he wants to just absolutely be the best. And for him to let someone else through, teammate or not, it's just, I don't think it's in his DNA. Like, that's not who he is, and he can't be something that he's not.
Stays ahead of Lewis Hamilton, of all the drama, of all the controversy, of all the magic moments in Formula One in 2021. It comes down to this.
Even though Red Bull released a statement later on defending their driver, they said there wasn't any pre-agreed strategy, so that's why he didn't let him through. But it doesn't matter how many times they defend him, everyone knows that it wasn't the right thing to do. And honestly, the team's partly to blame for Max's selfishness and arrogance too. They've always treated him like he's someone special who's above everyone else, so it's no surprise that all of the ass-kissing went straight to his head. With that said, his antics off the track might be even worse. Did you know that he's super ignorant when it comes to social justice issues? True story. You can ignore all the dangerous and reckless driving, but you can't ignore this. It's understandable when someone decides not to engage in politics. Everyone has the right to choose whether or not they participate in such conversations, but Max's responses to various issues sure make it seem like he doesn't give a shit about anything, and it would have been a much better look for him not to give a response at all. I'm talking about the time he refused to take part in Hamilton's campaign against racism and said he's committed to anti-racism in other ways. What does that even mean?
I think it could have gone both ways, so we both were on it the whole year. We both made it really hard for ourselves, we were really fighting almost every single Grand Prix, but that's of course what people like, and I think what made it more special was of course two different teams.
Plus, remember when Nelson used racist language against Lewis? Again, it's understandable if Max wanted to distance himself from the situation, but his response was very controversial. He said that Piquet never used any racist remarks against the British racing champ. Oh really? Because back in 2021, Nelson used an offensive Portuguese term that I won't repeat here, which translates to little black guy or blackie. And it's no secret that the 70-year-old Brazilian has a history of using racist and homophobic language. It's funny that Max didn't have a problem with Nelson.
Yeah, if he said that in an interview, then that's probably like legit how that dude talks, and like that's just how he talks. But that doesn't make it right. It's inexcusable. I feel like to use any kind of racist language. Yeah, I'm not with that. Does Max have to take a stand? That's up to Max Verstappen on what he wants to do with social justice issues. I don't rock with it, but I feel like once you become like a celebrity, everybody's looking at you to pick a side on certain issues, and it's like no matter which side you pick, it's like you're gonna have people love you and you're gonna have people hate you at the end of the day. And so I look at Max Verstappen as a race car driver. I don't look at him outside of that track. I don't know anything about Max Verstappen. I don't know if I necessarily care, but when he's on that track, I see pure greatness. I see entertainment. I see dominance, and it's phenomenal. But I know once you get to a certain point, like there's so many people that look up to you and that buy things because sponsors you have, or buy things because you buy them, or you said if you say certain things, then they hold on to those things. I think that's a problem with society. We need to stop looking at celebrities or athletes or anything and worship them. Like, we don't need to worship them. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, they're human beings. They're people. But enjoy what they do in their sport. Enjoy how amazing they are. But outside of their sport, I don't really look at athletes or celebrities and base any of my decisions off of what they do. But I guess as a kid, it's completely different. I know I'm going on a rant here. I'm just saying, whether you off the court or off the track or off the field, I don't look at anything you do.
History of using racist and homophobic language. You know, it's funny that Max didn't have a problem with Nelson's comments because a judge did and fined the old-timer 780,000 euros. And if being ignorant wasn't bad enough, Max has a history of tasteless and offensive comments himself. In a fan Q&A session, someone asked him about the best purchase he ever made, and he said, "My girlfriend." I don't know about you guys, but
that's just fun. He had to have said that as like jokingly, bro. Like that's
that didn't sit well with me. Max laughed it off, and then he tried to save face by saying the best purchase he ever made was a house for his mom, but the damage was already done. I mean, why would you even make a comment like that in the first place? Want another example? He once called Lance Stroll a Mongol, an offensive term for East Asians, all because of a collision on the track, which again is really problematic. In a competitive sport like F1, collisions happen all the time. Every driver's looking to finish as high as they can, but that doesn't mean you start throwing slurs around.
In F1, there's so many good drivers, but some of them, they never get the opportunity to actually show how good they are. So, I rate Lando and George, for example, also very high compared to them. I'm just now talking about British drivers.
They think the FIA deliberately robbed Hamilton of the title to create some drama. I'm not sure the FIA would do something like that, but their statement after the incident raised some eyebrows. They admitted to their mistake, calling it human error, but they also said the results would remain the same. I mean, after reading that statement, can you really blame fans who think it was a robbery? Not really. And if all this wasn't enough for the fans to hate Max, his aggressive driving style definitely did the trick. Now, there's tons of aggressive drivers in F1, but Max really piles on the pressure when he's trying to overtake his opponents, and some are calling his behavior dangerous and reckless.
No, it's been a really good weekend. I mean, the car was really nice to drive, then you have a lot of confidence, to really get everything out of it, and quite natural as well. And then in the race, we knew that, of course, with that tire choice, maybe it was a bit more risky to turn one, but luckily everything worked out.
Not to mention, there's plenty of incidents that highlight the consequences of his aggressive style, like his crash with Hamilton at Silverstone in 2021. A lot of fans still blame him for that one. And then there's the incident at Monza. I don't care what anybody says that one was totally on him. Max could have easily avoided that. There was no room for him to make a move, but he did it anyway, and y'all know what happened next. Before you say anything, I know it's Formula One, and drivers are supposed to make a move even if there's very little space. Yeah, I know, but still, those kind of moves can jeopardize the entire race. It's because of shit like that Max has a reputation for being way too aggressive on the track. I mean, just think about it. He's also been kicked off the podium for his driving style, and even commentators have admitted that they haven't seen anything like him before. So there you have it, race fans, from criticisms over his aggressive driving style to being more talented than all the other drivers on the grid. Those were the real reasons everyone hates Max Verstappen.
I respect those reasons. Do I agree with all of them? No. He is an aggressive driver. I have seen that he is an aggressive driver. But I get that that's a part of the reason that makes him who he is, and he's an absolutely awesome driver. But there's certain people just don't like Max. That's all we got for this. You guys got a favorite video suggestion? You can subscribe to Patreon or drop it in the comment section. It's your boy D Neal. Out.